Good morning, everyone. Surprise, surprise. This is not Color and Chat Joanna. This is long-suffering husband. Just dropping in here, talking a bit about Legos. Something that Color and Chat Joanna is trying to be lured to. We told her come to the dark side. We have bricks, but she does not really want to get too involved in this yet. So what she's having me do is contract out. I am basically her contractor on her kits that she's seen from Temu, and she wants to go ahead and have a couple of nice little scenes that she would like to put on display. This kit that she's purchased from Temu, it's very beautiful when it's assembled. This is how it's going to look when it's completed. At this point, I am at probably about at the halfway mark of putting this kit together. It's quite different than your standard Lego in that the bricks themselves are much smaller and much more delicate, and putting this together is definitely quite a challenge. Temu is different in many ways from the kits you would buy directly from Lego, or its competitor is AliExpress, which what they love to do is contract Chinese companies that will build Lego kits almost brick for brick and literally copy the instructions out and then you can purchase what you have is a knockoff Lego kit for probably a quarter of the price that Lego charges in many of these kits. It's not a bad deal overall. I wouldn't probably say it's not the best, but if you do your research on YouTube, it's not a bad idea. An example of what you get though when you go to AliExpress is that you get an instruction manual and you get a big bag of parts. Now, with AliExpress, what they do is basically have a complete knockoff of the Lego kit, so you get often the individual different sections that you can purchase, that you can put together and have a simple step-by-step process. However, with the Temu kits, you have a little bit of a different problem with some of these Temu kits. Some of these Temu kits are not knockoffs of Legos at all, although Temu does sell Lego kits at a reasonable price, but then they have their own kits coming from Chinese companies. And this is where the difference lies with the Chinese companies. The Chinese companies have much smaller bricks in many of their kits. This one that we are building right now that Joanna thinks is very pretty and has a very Japanese style to that kit. It has 2,000 parts, and if you look here, it's recommending this at age 6 and above. Now, first of all, my thoughts on that is, what about a choking problem for a 6-year-old? Are you really seriously going to, let's say, get a piece like this, let's get a tiny little piece like that I can give you as an example. I would not at all hand a kit like this off to a 6-year-old to build. That's a choking hazard right there. You never know. You have to watch them very carefully put together a kit like this. My impressions is that it's very put together very well. It's just a lot more tedious in its construction because of the smaller amount of parts that you're using. And the other problem with that is that the instruction manual is not always clear. You start off with basically a base piece here, and then you have multiple individual bricks that you have to assemble to create the basic construction of where you're going to be adding parts to, and other areas that are just going to remain smooth. That's not so bad itself, and what they like to do in constructing this kit is that once you've completed an area, they highlight it in blue, and the ones that you want to assemble next, they give you the colors for that. So as you advance into the kit, here's another example. You can see that a lot's been constructed already, and what you need to add on is in the colors that you need to add to the kit. However, it does get a little more complicated as it goes on, and eventually you're going to have to build at least 2 different bases to put together a little, looks like a little island or a little mountain on top of a waterfall. And as I angle this down, what you see is that there is one support there and one support there, and you can see there is nothing else underneath it. The kit builders for this actually recommend that you start assembling all of this once you've put it on those 2 base pieces. But guess what? If you were sometimes required to put a lot of pressure on these parts to put them together and make sure they snap in, and in doing so, these supports are not going to hold very well. They frequently come off, and you have earned the chance of losing pieces. So what I've done, my solution is just simply to take that base off of the supports, and anything that I did need to construct on it, I would just do it before I put that thing back onto its final assembly. And then when you look at the base itself, here's the issue. This, put this the right way, you would think at first glance, oh, this is just maybe just a couple of big pieces. But as we zoom in, you can see there is multiple small pieces that need to be assembled to build the actual whole base piece. And the way this works is that you literally have to take this bottom part, assemble all the pieces. None of them are attached. They have to be put in that shape, and then you carefully put pieces for the second layer on top of that, and then you're going to repeat that. This piece here will go over here, and then finally you're placing that on top of that piece. And then when you're finished, you still have a few more bricks to assemble before you complete this thing. And as you can see, zooming in, how many individual bricks that is. That's the way they want you to build this set, and that does not always work the way you expect, and it is requiring a lot of patience and a lot of time to do so. The other problem with some of these knockoff Chinese kits, although they are very nice, and I'm not really going to say that they are very bad kits, it's just the organization and the way the Lego does it, and in some AliExpress kits do it, is a little different in that AliExpress and Lego, if you take a look at my recent Da Vinci aircraft that I built, let's see if we got a nice picture here of what the final assembly is, if I can show it to you in the right direction. It's a nice little kit that you actually have the ability to make the wings and the tail flap, and it looks very, very nice when completed. The difference is that AliExpress or Lego, they like to give you individual packages to build at a time, small sections. So here you have a number 1 package, and what that does is it builds you the whole stand. You can put that into a small plastic tub, dump all the pieces that you need, and you can then go ahead and assemble it with some confidence that you know that you have all the pieces you need. And Lego just continues that with step 2, same thing. They have another package. When AliExpress builds packages similar to Lego, what they do is they build the knockoff kits. They give you the instruction book. They'll give you all the pieces. And from what I understand on YouTube, in many cases they will also break it up into individual packages to make your build a little bit smoother. Not always the case. I've heard sometimes it is often some of the parts are lumped all together and you may have to do some sorting. But with some of these Temu kits, which are a lot smaller and less expensive, they look beautiful. They are probably nice kits when they're done. I mean, you can see what this is going to look like when it's completed. But the problem with the Temu kits that I've so far experienced with this one is that they give you 6 or 7 bags of parts. However, those parts are not step-by-step parts. Meaning that they'll give you 6 or 7 bags of a variety of different parts all mixed together. So if you want to start with the base of the kit, these little pieces all on the base part area here could be in 6 or 7 different bags, and you have to figure out how to do that. The only way to really do that is to have a nice little organizing container, which I have here, and basically all I can do is go through all those 6 bags, and using tweezers is helpful too, but sort out every single part probably by color. And in some cases you will have bigger pieces like these gray pieces here, and then you'll have smaller pieces also the same color. You want to keep these things separate if you can, because it's going to make it a little bit easier to find the pieces you need to assemble. I had to do the same with these clear pieces, where as you can see I still have some here which probably are going to come together later. These are pretty good size clear pieces, and I don't know if the camera can focus on that or not, but they also have, again, multiple individual small little pieces, and you just want to keep those two separate. You don't really want to have it all mixed together, because that's going to make it even harder to find. So building this kit is obviously going to require initially at least, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or so of just sorting out every single part, and then you can finally start your construction of the kit. I would say I'm on probably day 3 or 4 of trying to now put this thing together, and I would say there's probably another 50% of this, judging by, you can see all the parts that still have to go into this before it is completed, and it requires a little patience. I am a little concerned that in this construction, that this platform has this small base here, and you can see another small base in front that's holding this all together. This whole base area here on top, this platform, is just being held by those 2 sections. And be warned, if you try to put any of your pieces on here as you're going along, what's going to happen is if you put too much pressure, this whole thing may collapse, and in doing so you may send a lot of small parts flying everywhere, and then your hunt's on to try to put it all back together. May have to go back in your instruction manual and try to assemble it. It is probably a good idea when you build these kits to build it in an area where if a part were to fall on a floor, that you're working maybe from a wood floor, or in my case I'm working from a desk with a clear plastic mat under the top of the chair. So most of the parts that are going to fall down will hit the plastic mat, and I can use the flashlight to find it fairly quickly. But that's just a warning on that. And then they give you these minifigs, which are pretty tiny, and I just dropped her in there. And let's see if I can get her out just to show you how small these little minifigs are. They're not like the Lego ones, but putting that part's easy together. She has two arms. Here's one of them, and somehow that is going to have to snap into the side of this piece without breaking it. I mean, you can see that there's a small hole there. This is supposed to snap into it without breaking it, and so far I've not been successful, but I'm going to try to be very patient in doing so. But I am finding this definitely quite a challenge to do. Joanna loves it. She loves the picture of it, and she says it is very pretty, and she can't wait to see it done. Myself, I'd like to see it done, so I can maybe move on to something that's a little less challenging and a little less hard on the eyes than this thing. But bad news is she decided also that she saw another one, probably made by the same person, in Chinese manufacturer, and eventually we're going to be working on that one. So that is the kit itself, and as I said, she contracted me out to do her kit, but we also have a little deal coming up soon. I am actually going to try to do a diamond painting. I have a Diamond Art Club Star Trek kit that Joanna and I are going to try to, well, she's going to try to demonstrate how to do it for me on a live chat one day, and that'll be coming up soon. So look forward to that. It's going to be definitely something different for me, because that's way out of my ballpark of what I'm used to doing. But I'll see how that goes. Anyway, for now, that's how this kit's coming. We'll probably give you an update when it's completed. And I hope you all have found this very interesting. And I hope you all have a great day. Take care. And as Joanna said, you're important to me, so be important to you. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you when this is completed. Bye.